Hello and welcome to Right Now. This week we were told that here in the UK we would be getting some of our freedoms back on July the 19th. Where have I heard that before? Forgive me for not taking the word of a fake libertarian and a compulsive liar that messes his hair up intentionally because he'd rather be perceived as a buffoon than the fully signed up member of the Klaus Schwab cult. That's what he is. Build back better! The illusion of imminent freedom will persuade many to take their foot off the resistance pedal. That's sort of the idea. Don't kid yourselves, they're just getting started, but so are we. On the show tonight, I'll be joined by Sir Julian Rose. He's an author, an activist. He's also best known for being a pioneer of organic farming back in the 1970s. We'll be talking to Julian about the need for self-sustainability, as well as his latest book, Overcoming the Robotic Mind. Leilani Dowding is a television personality and model, and she's been on the protest trail here in England since the very beginning of the pandemic. She's one of the very few people to have managed to get their anti-lockdown views aired in the mainstream media. She'll be joining us here in the studio to talk about the growing movement and what happens next. But first, we spoke about adding a section to Right Now called Next Week's News. So predictable have the cult of Klaus become. It really is rather easy to see what card will be played next. See the outcome and you can see the journey, as my dad says.
If they do ease back some of these restrictions, that this is not taken as a respite by those who have been pushing back on this. And the next London March on the 24th of July has to be bigger even than the last one, because we have to send a message to these people that we're not buying your manipulation. We're not buying your temporary respite if we get that, because we know what you're going to do. And this has to be a line in the sand now for those who are awakening. And there's more and more people, even some of the have been fake vaccinated, who have seen it, a bit late, but they've seen it, who are also joining the not having it camp. We have to now draw that line in the sand and say, you're easing the restrictions? Okay. But don't think you're going to take us back into lockdown, because we're not going to have it. We're not going to have it anymore. How
imminent are food shortages? It's something that I keep hearing a lot about.
Yes, I don't think they're imminent at all. But I hope I'm proved correct on this. Essentially, this is another scare story. And I mean, everything one's reading basically is a scare story. It's a reversal. It's a sort of archonic reversal of reality. Well, put it into proper perspective. You could get the entire population of the world into Brazil with a quarter of an acre each to grow food on. And then people start saying, oh, we can't grow enough food on the planet, or we can't transport it for various reasons, and everyone's going to starve. Well, actually, this is so far from the truth. And there was a time not so long ago in Britain when we were relatively self-sufficient, about 70 to 80% just before the war. And we've been maintaining 70 to 80% self-sufficiency right up until the last 15 or so years. And it started to slip. And now it's slipped down. I'm talking about England. Now it's slipped down to 60% because governments and people are very much in love with global market buying of the cheapest food products on the world market, produced under the cheapest labor available. And that's the reason. That's what they're talking about. So they've abandoned the idea that you buy local, direct, and sustainable, in favor of the convenience of buying from giant superstores.
It's mad how much the marches have grown, isn't it? Like, I went to the very first one.
Yeah.
Well, I've kind of been to smaller ones before that, but...
Well, I think London was like, I mean, they were just a handful, and then it went to about 600.
Yeah.
And then the one after that was about 40,000. I'm not a mathematician, but that's a hell of a leap.
Yeah, the one at Trafalgar Square.
Yeah, it was just enormous. And then the one after that in Trafalgar Square was even bigger.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, I saw you there, it's hundreds of thousands of people now, isn't it? But this then comes to me as well, that whole thing, I keep saying it to people, like, why do you believe the media over what you've seen with your own eyes, like over the last 16 months? And I think that as well, you know, when the media says, oh, there's 10,000 people, I think Daily Mail said 10,000.
Yeah.
You know, but you can see the photo.
I know, yeah, where there's like, and the aerial footage.
What world is that 10,000 people, you know? It's just mad. Almost as mad as this. How was the Crucible this year to play?
Yeah, it was like a third capacity. So
was it
300 out of 1,000 or something?
Because it was one of these pilot government things, wasn't it?
Yeah, where you get tested, right? So you have to take a lateral flow test, but you can just not do the test, scan the barcode.
Just say it was negative.
Text it, just say it's negative.
Amazing. Amazing. A friend told me that about Wembley as well. We went to
That's
Germany
it, yeah,
game.
that's what you have to
Said the
do.
same thing, yeah. Oh, that's delightful.
Well, this is the thing as well, and I try and tell my parents, because my parents are addicted to watching the BBC and the news, and I said, I say to them, but how many people do you know? How many people do you know that have got better? How many people do you know that have got ill? Why are you focusing on the negative? And for me, I draw a lot on the experience I had doing a reality show, where the one thing that they would love is for you to split the audience. That was the one thing. It's called splitting the audience. You want people arguing on both sides.
Right.
And I've noticed that the news does that a lot. It's almost like the news is playing out like a reality show, like everything's happening, but they're never focusing on anything good. No. They're focusing on what's going to cause an argument, what's going to split the audience, what's going to get people to turn off their TVs and carry this debate on at home, fighting with their friends, their family, and causing more drama that are going to make more people tune in tomorrow. Yeah. So that's what I've noticed, and that's why I don't trust the TV. I turn it off and I'm like, okay, what is it that's going on around me? And the one person, the only person I know who's died from COVID was a friend of mine's mother. Sorry, died of COVID. Let's put it in the comments. In the comments is died of COVID is somebody that had already been in hospital for 3 months after having a stroke. Right. So hospital 3 months from having a stroke, then catches COVID in hospital. This whole 3 months she wasn't allowed to see her family, so that already weighs on your immune system and your well-being and your will to live. And she was weak and she got it and she passed away. Now, that's the only person I know. So for me, I'm going to say it was probably the stroke that killed her. Yeah. And everyone else I know that's had it has been fine.
There has been, I think, for a long time now, a progressive approach in telling people that without plugging their brains into a computer system, they'll never be able to keep up with the modern world, where the amount of information available is so many billion megabytes, and the human brain isn't capable of absorbing that. Therefore, you will have to, in the near future, plug your brain into a computer in order to be able to download the information you'll need. Now, the crazy thing about this approach, this robotic type approach, man must become a robot in order to become human, is of course we started by talking about archons and reversing everything. It's an exact reversal of the evolution of mankind in the direction of love, spiritual awareness, consciousness, love of nature. It's precisely the opposite. If you had to invent the opposite of those last terms, you would come out with the robot, the robotic mind. So that rather proves the case, I think, that those controlling this approach and the multimillionaires who are sort of sitting behind it and hoping it's all going to come true really are less than human individuals. And anyone who takes their advice, it would be very, very wise to quickly change their minds, become human again as fast as they can.
So what happens to people if they speak out? Say someone within your industry just says, do you know what? No one's listening to me anymore. I'm not having it. What happens to them?
Well, I got death threats. I had people when COVID came out and I'm like, I'm not doing the masks. I'm not doing anything like that. I'm going to, mind my own business. But this is the way that I feel about it. They were like, I hope you die from COVID. You're a racist. When I was speaking out against some of our world leaders, they were calling me an anti-Semite. They were calling me, every name in the book.
Wow. Death threats, though. I mean, the anti-Semite thing, that gets thrown around. But
of people going, I hope you die. You're never going to make it in the industry. You're just a, nobody actress, and I'm a human being. That's what we all are. We all have a voice. And I'm not even a Republican. Everybody was like, oh, you're QAnon, you're Republican. I said, I've been on the left for a really long time,
And we must keep going. The march must be bigger on the 24th. It must be bigger in August. And we must not concede an inch to fascism. Because like I've said many times, fascism is not brought in by fascists. There's never enough of them. It's brought in by the population acquiescing to fascism. And we must not do it. And, there's a massive responsibility here. Awakening from the coma is a wonderful thing. It's a gift. No matter how challenging it may be, it's a gift. But with that gift comes responsibility. And, you look at the vast majority of people who have bought this completely, and they just do whatever they're told. They'll go on wearing the masks, even if they temporarily say that, it's not the law. They're not going to change anything. They are going to be used as the foot soldiers of the fascists to try to demonize and marginalize those who can see. So it's those that can see who have to change this. We are not the majority yet, but it's we who have to change it. And that can only come by mass non-cooperation under any circumstances, no matter what level of intimidation. And it's coming, that intimidation. Under no level of intimidation do we concede our right to self-respect and our right to freedom. Because, freedom is not given. Freedom is not what you are given. Freedom is what you live. It's what you are. And people say, we want our freedom back. You want our freedom back. So who took your freedom? Well, the authorities took the freedom. No, they didn't. You gave it to them.
From Dominic Cummings Drive to Bernard Castle, GlaxoSmithKline, to Neil Ferguson having his climate change promoting bit on the side around his house for a roll around during lockdown, to Matt Hancock's awkward fumble, a bone of contention among many reasonable people, has been the double standards of the rulers and the plebs. Why is it okay to go to Royal Ascot, to sit in a royal box sipping Pimm's at Wimbledon, but I can't watch my kids' sports day?
I'm getting loads of comments from parents now being told that they can't go along to their child's sports day or the end of
I've just had
play.
exactly this.
Or second schools are not doing proms. And these are kids in their last year at a primary school or a secondary school. It's part of the sort of rites of passage of kids. That's all gone.
It's my son's sports day today, and it's his final year at the school he's at as well. And one of the things I've missed the most in the last year is watching my kids indulge in their passions,
The rules are for thee, not for me, seems to be the standard across the world. Would that be the case? Would that actually be the case if there were a genuine threat at all?
But you faced adversity as well, long before any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like obviously we'd spoken before about the fact that, you've been diagnosed with Crohn's and you just went, I'm not having it.
Yeah.
Which is unbelievable.
So when I got diagnosed with Crohn's, the kind of doctor said all these meds and all this kind of thing. So initially, that was the only thing to go with. Then I read a book by, I think it was Dr. David Icke.
Right.
I don't know if you've heard it in America. And he'd done like loads of patients in America and kind of cured it with a certain diet. So I went back 2 years, no flare or nothing with the Crohn's.
And this was no medication, this was
no,
just
nothing.
diet and power of the mind, I guess.
And they wouldn't, the doctor was like, no, that won't work.
You couldn't accept it?
No, just couldn't have it, it's funny.
Because I suppose in their world, that can't possibly be true.
No.
Big fight, Mr. Shot.
Have a go.
I suppose in big pharma world, if they're not pumping drugs in you, then they can't be fixing you, can it?
No. It's funny.